Pride's this weekend, and it looks like great weather, so we're very excited. And it's been tremendous success the past few years, and we're looking forward to continuing the tradition with another phenomenal event this weekend. Thank you to the LBGT Network for organizing an incredible event. Nassau County, County Executive Curran, Town of Hempstead, and Supervisor Gillen for partnering with us, and Governor Cuomo for authorizing a significant grant to cover the cost of this year's festivities. With the first phase of the Army Corps of Engineers project done, all our beaches will be completely open this summer, and we're looking forward to a wonderful season. Beach passes can be purchased 7 days a week at the Gazebo Building, located across from the Long Beach Great High School. The hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m., and weekends from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. until June 22nd. For more information, please visit longbeach.ny.gov/beach. The City of Long Beach has announced their 2019 summer concert series dates, which begin July 2nd and run through August 29th. The popular series is free for residents and visitors 4 nights a week and showcases a variety of musical entertainment. Got 2 more guys. Fun in the park is returning this summer. Families are invited to come enjoy activities, craft shows, and more at one of the Long Beach parks. Pack lunch and make a day of it, or just stop by. It's a perfect way to spend the day, especially if your children are not attending camp or you're just looking for a quick outside activity. Visit longbeachny.gov/beach for more details. The fireworks are coming again this year. Bethpage Federal Credit Union will present the Long Beach Fireworks Extravaganza on Friday, July 5th. The extravaganza will begin at 3 p.m. with a multitude of food and craft vendors lining the boardwalk. At 7, the beach concert featuring Gold Coast Orchestra will begin with the fireworks starting at 9. The bandwagon will be set up on Long Beach Boulevard Beach. Enjoy the beach. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Frazier.
Okay, our first item this evening is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a contract for the installation of a removable flood road system at the West End Community Center.
Okay, I would ask Commissioner Morando if he could come up and give us a brief explanation of this item.
Good evening, thank you. This is part of the FEMA 406 hazard mitigation program. Any of the buildings that sustain damage, we're able to request funds from FEMA to flood-proof these buildings or to harden them against other storms up to the amount of damage that was occurred at each one of the locations. We've actually requested over $12 million worth of projects. We've had over $5 million approved so far. This is one of the smaller projects. This is the West End Community Center, which is a part of the building that we have an IMA with the school district to use for the West End Neighborhood Association. And this system will do is provide deployable flood barriers that will go at the doors, the windows, and an internal door to protect that community center so that it stays viable in the event of another severe storm like Sandy.
So the work that we're proposing to do has all been approved by FEMA?
It's all been approved by FEMA. We, 2 years ago, we had done a RFP. We hired 3 separate engineering firms. Each one of the engineering firms do a project design report for us. That report is then sent to FEMA. Once they approve the money, the engineers send them the design, and then we put them out to bid. So this was done by LK McClay, the design, was put out to bid and has been approved by FEMA.
So we expect no cost to the taxpayers?
There's no cost to the taxpayer. This is a $157,000 project, and it's all funded by FEMA.
Just a quick question.
Please.
Commissioner Miranda, do you know how long it will take to implement these flood walls and if the community center will be out of commission while that's being done?
Well, they'll be actually implemented by our maintenance people when the time comes. They're pretty easy to deploy once they're there. There's permanent setups that these, they're like stackable planks that are roofed, and the pieces that take them, that hold them are all going to be permanently installed. And it's just a matter of sending a couple of maintenance people over and just deploy them in enough time before a storm.
Thank you. Thank you. Will the planks be stored at the West School, at the West End Community Center, or do you think they'll be stored?
We will try it. We have room, we will store them at the West End Community Center. It'll make more sense because this is going to happen in several of the buildings that we have.
Right.
So rather than have them all confused, we want to try to keep them at each location. This will be very similar to what we've doing with the railroad, for the critical infrastructure bulkhead.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious, will any safety measures also be used with respect to the school district? Because obviously this is a part of, so will there be any safety measures on their end that those ends will complete this idea of safety?
Well, I don't know what the school is doing for their building. We could only put in for the amount of damage that was created at the West End Community Center during Sandy, and that's what we did. We did put in for that amount. We will have to coordinate with the school because there isn't one internal deployment that will take place. And of course, the school's in session and things of that nature, we'll have to work with them.
Councilor Bezel?
Yeah, you kind of answered my question. So the one internal deployment, that's the one door that goes into the community center?
Correct.
Okay, so in theory, then if the school doesn't do anything and floods this one room,
Will be,
it will be protected. Okay, that's what
the other ones cover the outside doors and the outside windows.
it's gonna be that door on the south side of the building?
We'll leave this as outside.
The door is on the east side, southeast side, is that the community center on that, or is that the school that owns it?
Well, the school owns the entire building, we just have an intermunicipal agreement to use that building, and under that agreement, we're required to keep it in working order. And of course, any structural changes that we make, we're required to get permission from the school district, which we did. But those doors that are external to that room will be, have a deployable barrier on them.
I believe that eastern door is part of that building, because then there's the double doors on
Yeah,
the
is
inside.
that
Yeah.
all of this, or would that be the school's property?
I don't think you have to go so far into the community center.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the school applied for any 406 funds, but we know we had to for our building, our portion.
Be back to a one-room school, right?
Well, at least it'll be a place for the community to get together after a storm for informational meetings and stuff.
Any other questions from the council, or the commission? Any questions or comments from the public? Sure, Mr. Dean? Please state your name and address for the record.
John Dean, Long Beach. I'm slightly familiar with this particular product. One of my brothers is works in the construction industry. And I consider using it in my own house. I use something like that. The installation takes people to be trained in putting them in the right way. They have to go in a certain fashion. They need to lock them once. I've seen it. And so is there training involved in the people that are going to be sent? And is that going to be covered by the cost? And being that we're using our own people, are we going to have to front the cost and then collect from FEMA? And if there's a delay, is that going to cause us to have to borrow money to cover the waiting period? And could that, in fact, cause this to be more money than what we're saying it is right now? So I have a serious number of concerns about
Commissioner, can you answer those questions? Normally, FEMA is a reimbursement process where we do the outlay and then they reimburse us, but I'll let the commissioner answer.
But, we're using.
Training, reimbursement, and doing these borrowing.
Right, this money has already been bonded. We have over $2 million in bonds already for several of these projects. We have additional money in this year's capital budget that we requested for bonding. After we spend the money, FEMA will reimburse us for that project. The manufacturer will provide training for our people. FEMA does not pay for storm preparation, but our people will be involved in storm preparation throughout the city during an upcoming event. So those will be all decisions we'll make at the time when the storm is coming in, is how we get that prepared for it based on weather reports and what have you.
Okay.
We're realizing that there's turnover. Is there a plan for continued training of future people that are going to be involved? Because this is not, it's a complex thing. I've seen it. I've actually been with the manufacturer. I've seen it. It's a little more expensive than what
Well, just like any other thing that we have turnover for, and things that our people have to be trained in, they will get trained. So, when we have turnover, people learn new jobs, just like on a water plant.
Right.
Plant operators, they get trained and they get licensed, so, whatever needs to be done will be done with new employees.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no hands, call the next item.
Item two is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the performing of fire safety services.
Okay, I would ask that, Corporation Counsel Konitzki, explain this one.
All right, currently, we are piggybacking off of Nassau County's contract, and we are utilizing a company called Johnson Controls. Over the last year, we've encumbered about $80,000 with that vendor. Our purchasing.
Can you just talk about what the contract is for?
Sure.
Back and forth.
Yes, this is for fire safety services such as testing, inspections, scheduled maintenance for fire suppression systems, for gas pumps, AES fire suppression systems, firearm systems, sprinkler systems, portable fire extinguishers, etc. Sprinkler flow tests, they just check all the fire suppression materials in our buildings and properties and make sure everything is fully functional and compliant with local and state regulations and laws. So currently, we use a vendor. Over the last year, we've encumbered $80,000. We decided to get proposals from the several companies that do this. One of the proposals was not entirely responsive to all the services we requested. They only responded with fire extinguisher services. The other company was on point and basically listed all the services that we needed and offered to do so for a fee of $25,000 per year. And that's basically it. We had 4 committee members evaluate those 2 proposals, and overwhelmingly, the committee recommended Fire Command for the award of this proposal.
Okay. Anyone from the council have any questions on this item?
The RFP also called, and you mentioned it, called the scheduled maintenance and changing of usable links and hood cleans in the kitchen areas. The response that Fire Command put in just calls for inspections and tests. So it doesn't seem like the maintenance issues are included in the Fire Command contract. Would that be the additional expense that's talked about that would be negotiated with the city?
Yeah, they included a catch-all. Basically, if it's anything that is not on their punch list, which is a pretty comprehensive punch list, it would be subject to negotiation with the city at a later point in time.
So I guess what I'm trying to determine is, I guess the genesis of this was trying to lower the cost from Johnson Controls.
Correct.
Would there be an anticipation of the extra services that aren't included, mostly these maintenance items, getting us back up to where we were before?
I think the anticipation is it's going to be far less than what it is now. That's what our procurement department has told me. That's the reason why we did it. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's the best I can answer that question.
Okay, I know you don't know what you and I guess, just one other thing, I guess, my understanding is that our new fire chief is an employee of Fire Command. Is that correct?
I don't have any personal knowledge of that.
I see Commissioner Kemmons is back there. He would, no. That our new fire chief, he's an employee of Fire Command, correct? Okay, so all I need to hear from you is that this is not a conflict of interest.
No, I don't think it would be a conflict of interest because that fire chief isn't awarding this contract, and I'm not sure that he has a direct financial benefit from the award of this
I
contract.
just want the clarity.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, anyone else from the council have any questions? Seeing no hands, anyone from the public have any questions? Mr. Lester? Name and address for the record, please.
Roy Lester, Long Beach. I know I sound like a broken record, but when it comes to bids, we're doing something wrong. We got 2 bids, and one of them wasn't even responsive, and the other one was not even 100% responsive. I don't know what we're doing wrong, but I keep bringing it up. Why can't we get more bids? Companies are desperate for business out there, and we we end up getting one bid. Now, just out of curiosity, who was on the committee that evaluated this bid?
My understanding was it was our purchasing agent, Rosemary Alton, Daniel O'Brien, who works in the building maintenance staff, Tommy Canner, who's in charge of building maintenance, and Joe Fabrizio, those working.
So no one from the fire department, nobody with fire knowledge?
Those are the 4 individuals that did.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can you talk about the bid process?
Yes, when I reviewed what was done here, the RFP was sent to 4 companies that did this. I don't think there's a lot of companies that specialize in this particular field, but we sent it to 4 that we knew of. We put it on BidNet, which is an internet procurement website, and we did the normal publishing, of this information that we have to do by law and by our procurement policy. We only got 2 responses, so.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on the fire suppression item? Okay. Seeing no hands, next item.
And 3 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to pay administrative costs under the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, authorizing the passing on of administrative costs to the owners of the buildings included under such act, and directing the acting city controller to pay billing therefor.
Okay, I would ask that, Mr. Flammer.
This is a fee we vote on every year. This is fee handed down to us from the New York State Homes and Community Renewal, which we then charge the landlords of the ETPA apartments within the city. Right now, we have 450 ETPA apartments, and each apartment is $10 fee for the rental.
ETPA is,
The ETPA apartments are the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which are rent control apartments.
any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record.
Crystal Lake, East Market Street. What types of buildings fall under this category?
These would be co-ops that, where there's still rental units that can go up, and larger apartment buildings.
Does it have anything to do with rent regulation?
It's the fee goes to pay for the database in the state to keep track of all the rent control apartments within the city.
Okay, is it rent controlled or rent stabilized?
Anything that would fall within the ETPA law, within which I think we only have rent control.
That's my understanding as well.
Yes, so it'd be the rent control of 450 apartments that we have in the city. The state maintains a database of them, and this fee goes to pay for the maintenance of that database.
Okay. Within the City of Long Beach Comprehensive Plan draft, January 2008, page 4-34. There is a statement that says that there are 25 rent-regulated buildings within the city. I printed out this list that shows, I don't know if it's current or not, but it's for your review. And if at all possible, I had asked numerous times previously if this information could be made available to the public. Thank you for your.
The ETPA information is available in New York State, and they maintain the database.
I realize that, but I'm speaking of the actual locations of the buildings.
I believe that's there too.
Honestly, I know it's online, I printed it out. However, the vast majority of individuals that I know are not aware. So, it might be something that may be helpful or beneficial to the public at large. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ms. Blanchett. Name and address for the record.
Allison Blanchett, Long Beach. I have a couple of comments. So,
Mario. in that city council, people, can you hear me? Okay, that's all that is. So I'm just curious about the historical timeline of this, because I know the ETPA of 74 stated it's 6 or more, specifies privately owned apartments of 6 or more units. So I'm just curious when in Long Beach should we amend it to be 60 or more? Just purely curious about that. And I'm also curious about, I think the last time I talked to someone, right, about the last time that this was amended was around 2003. Does anyone know how many apartments that we have lost?
It's a couple hundred. I can say in 2014, we had 597, and now we have 450.
That's horrible. That's really horrible that we lost those. And I think this is a good opportunity to say thank you to council members Moore, Kimmy Diamond, and Anthony Ramo, because I know that you signed on in support of the 9 bills that passed in Albany that were landmark New York laws that are going to protect rent control buildings, rent stabilization, tenant protections. How many rentals do we have approximately in Long Beach? Would you say about like 45 to 50% of residents are renters?
Off the top of my head, I
think the last time I saw the census reads, it was somewhere for like toward 50%, so I'm half of 50 or so percent of renters in the city of Long Beach. Thank you for signing on, because some of the, it's not just rent stabilized apartments, rent control apartments that are affected. And speaking of those 9 bills, this is just a comment very related to this. Do you think that we could have some kind of maybe someone could host a forum on what those 10 protections mean? Those 9 bills mean in Hempstead tonight. There's a forum being presented. I think you guys know Benjamin, he's part of that. I would suggest that, because a lot of people don't understand what this is, and that's fine. They're not living in those buildings, but
It affects everyone.
it affects everyone. And this also, I'm glad Crystal brought up the comprehensive plan, because this really drives like that home, the importance of having that comprehensive plan. That should be a priority for this council.
I like the idea, I'll reach out to Benjamin and see if he'd like to do it. He's a president now, by the way.
Yes, yes.
But just also want to share that he actually organized 2 specific informational sessions that were held at the Long Beach Library.
Thank you for attending.
One of the people that promoted that, because I thought it was important for people to get the information. Because you have to have access to information so that you can move forward and do what's best for you, your family, and children. So I think it's very important that you could.
I did spend some time up in Albany trying to pass this with Benjamin and some of your city groups. So thank you for signing on.
Thank you.
Thank
Anyone else? Do you speak about the ETPA fee? No? Okay, seeing no hands, call the first item.
Okay, on to the voting. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into a contract for the installation of removable floodwall system at the West End Community Center. Motion to move the adoption of this item. Second,
But by all.
voting, Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Diamond.
Yes.
President Obama.
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to enter into an agreement for the performing of fire safety services. Introduce move the adoption of this item. Second,
I will.
voting, Councilmember Mandel.
So we save money, and this brings the business into a local Long Beach company, so we support jobs here. It's a good thing, yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Diamond.
Yes.
President Obama.
Yes.
Finally, item 3 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to pay administrative costs under the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, authorizing the passing on of administrative costs to the owners of the buildings included under such act, and directing the acting city controller to make billing thereto. Introduce move the adoption of this item.
I will.
Second,
I will.
voting. Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Yes.
Vice President Diamond.
Yes.
President President Romano.
Yes.
You make a motion to close the meeting.
Hammer,
Second. Voting, Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Councilmember Moore.
before, I just wanted to just congratulate all of our graduates for this year. This will be the last meeting before we have the opportunity to say congratulations for all of your achievements with that. So, yeah.
Vice President Donovan.
Yes.
President Romano.
Yes. Okay, with that, we enter our good welfare section of the meeting. Everyone will receive 3 minutes of uninterrupted time, and I just ask that you treat everyone with respect. Thank you. First up is Mr. Sam Jacobson.
Hi, good evening, Jay Russell, Long Beach. Please do not interrupt me. A year or so ago, when the subject of appointing Corporation Counsel Rob Agostisi to acting city manager came up, I spoke to the council about my belief that Mr. Agostisi could not be appointed due to his residing outside the city. As is usually the case, when I addressed the council, my concerns fell on deaf ears. Mr. Agostisi, in his capacity as corporation counsel at this particular meeting, engaged me in a somewhat heated debate about whether or not the residency requirement applied to any possible acting appointee to serve as city manager. Not surprisingly, Mr. Agostisi and I disagreed on the applicability of the residency requirement to someone designated as acting. At that time, I told Mr. Agostisi that if he was appointed as acting city manager, he could expect a legal challenge from me as to the validity of Mr. Agostisi's belief that he could be appointed acting city manager and not be subject to the residency requirement set forth in the charter. To the prospect of me bringing a legal challenge, Mr. Agostisi stated rather snarkily, "Good luck." Just wondering if the council is aware that I served a lawsuit on the city this past Friday contesting the validity of Mr. Agostisi's appointment. And was wondering if you guys have seen it, if you've read it, if you've been informed of its existence. And assuming that you have been, I suggest that the council retain, the city council, retain outside counsel directly in order to sort out the legality of Mr. Agostisi's appointment. And that the council keep Mr. Agostisi at arm's length from any discussion with outside counsel regarding this issue. Because after all, Mr. Agostisi has already expressed the legal opinion that he may be appointed acting city manager despite his failure, really his refusal to meet the residency requirement for the position. And it's pointed out that the council members that voted in favor of Mr. Agostisi's appointment may be held personally liable for any salary that may have been paid to Mr. Agostisi in violation of the law. So I really strongly suggest that you guys get your heads together and hire somebody outside, independent of Mr. Agostisi, not through him and not answerable to him, and get yourselves some quality information on the legality of Mr. Agostisi's appointment.
Mr. Eddie Rowan.
Hello, Eddie Rowan. At the candidates forum on Wednesday, several incumbents sitting up here promised no austerity and no layoffs. This idea that we cannot cut our budget is absurd. That if we refuse to make cuts to patronage, to make substantial, substantive changes, we as a city will not be able to survive. We will have to declare bankruptcy. Currently, we are running deficits in the millions. Our debt is over $100 million. Our unfunded liabilities are hundreds of millions of dollars. And at the city council meetings, I come up here and I explain the financial state we are in, the terrible financial condition we are in. And yet, this council has not taken action. And to promise that we will not make any action, so we will not cut our budget when we're running millions of dollars of deficits. We are raising taxes 16% in 2 years. That is shameful. That is wrong. last meeting, Councilwoman Diamond, acting as president, instructed Mr. Agostisi to provide an answer to my question. I asked, what is the current fund balance of the general fund? That means, what is our reserves for the general fund? Mr. Agostisi told him to respond to me the next day. Of course, Mr. Agostisi did not respond to me the next day. And I emailed him, I emailed the entire city council, I called his office 3 times, but miraculously today, he responded to my email. I will read you his response. Mr. Broner, in response to your question, please be advised that the city's estimated fund balance as of 6/6/19 was $3.7 million. In the future, please understand that calling and writing me every day will not only fail to expedite the response process, but will ensure that no response is provided at all. As discussed with you at a recent council meeting, the city receives many inquiries, and no one is entitled to skip the line. Please be guided accordingly. To give me such a rude response through an email, again, I think it is very wrong. That for him to disregard the instruction of an acting president of the council, for him to disregard his bosses, and then when called out on it, to say he doesn't have enough time to listen to the instruction of the city council, to understand and answer the questions of those concerned with our city processes, is wrong. And it shows that this council has failed to hold Mr. Agostisi accountable, and it has failed to, and Mr. Agostisi has failed to act as an effective and competent city manager. And I think that overall, change is needed on this council. Change is needed, and the people demand it. Thank you.
Nora Egan, Long Beach. I have a question about the jetties. Are we no longer posting the signs at the jetties that it's a $500 fine if people on the jetties?
I'm not sure.
Commissioner Miranda, do you know?
Yeah, signs are on order. All the signs we put up last year got picked up by people and thrown out, so we have new signs on order. As soon as they come in, we're gonna be looking at a different way to put them in so that, people just refuse to leave things alone out there, you know? So.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. I was on Lincoln on Saturday, and there's a young lifeguard, and he has to keep running down to the jetty, telling people to get off. Is there any way we can get the guys, whatever we officially call them, the blue shirt guys, to go onto the actual beach? The specials, and to hand out fines?
They often do go on the beach to check beach passes. Is it in the purview of the specials to do jetty?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that poor lifeguard got like such abuse from these guys, it was
Right, I've seen
not even funny. And then my other thing is that I foiled for how many summonses were, and I did this last year. So I have from June 2017 to August 18, and there's 101 summonses given, which with my math, that's $50,500. How much have we recouped from that? Have we recouped all of that? I didn't get an answer when I asked that question.
specifically for being on the jetties.
Yes.
So
It was 100.
I'm sure it's much less than that because very often, as we know, the judge's discretion to lower fines. So that, I assume that $50,000 figure is the maximum, what the fine says on the ticket.
So,
Your math is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, what?
You took 101 and multiplied it by
500, because it doesn't say like first offense.
Right.
First offense is 250. So I would assume your first offense, and if you keep doing it again, it's stupid.
Right.
Your first offense is $500.
I'm just saying,
So
that
these
with
were-
all the tickets, it's judge's discretion, so very often it's lower than what is actually on the ticket. Is that correct, Mr. Clemens?
I believe $500 is the maximum fine, right? So judges have the discretion to go lower than that if they so choose.
So do you know how much we have recouped from these fines? Because I'm sure since November or August 18, there's been more.
I'm sorry, I don't have that information in front of me. I don't know specifically how much money we recouped on the jetties offhand. I think the courts would have that information. I've never seen anything reflecting that information, so I'm sorry I can't answer your question.
But would it be added to the budget, or where would I find it in the budget? Like, is that revenue?
I think the
Or-
money goes into the the general fund.
The general fund, so if I FOIL for it, I should feel some lines?
No,
Yeah, it's lumped in with all the fines, not just the jail itself.
So do we know how much your first fine is?
We'd have to get back to you.
right, it depends on, so many times people plead guilty with an explanation to the judge, and the judge has the discretion to determine what the fine should be. It doesn't necessarily have to be the maximum.
That.
Thank you, Stephen.
Mr. Arnold, very quick, would it behoove you not to do your flyers sitting on the jetty as well?
Mr. John Dean.
John Dean, Long Beach. I've got a couple items. Number one, I'm very disappointed at the last meeting when they put up the safety signs that I've been requesting, which is yield to pedestrians and New York State law also do not block intersections. And that I felt it was to say that putting up signs is equal to having to wait for a traffic study, which is really looking at whether or not we're going to get traffic control at corners. Not putting up signs on the street for the safety of the president, of the pedestrians, bicycle riders, and the residents who are. This road, West Park from New York to Nevada, was designed probably 80 years ago, when it was a summer bungalow community. Little or no people live there. There's a completely reverse of that. You know, a very safe, unsafe area, and you're making the city of Long Beach responsible for your lack of action. Item two, Arizona Avenue was recently repaved, I believe, by a contractor with the National Grid. Since that repaving, the road is flooded, doesn't drain right, and I want to know what kind of recourses we have to get that to drain right and have it regraded so that it doesn't flood. It creates a severe problem, safety. And the last item, as far as the fines, I can't believe that we don't have an accounting mechanism that keeps track of the type of fines that are collected, even though they're all going in bulk to the general account. We should be able to know how many are traffic, parking related fines, traffic moving related fines, other fines that they get for people doing things that they shouldn't be doing on the boardwalk, and then fines for people on the jail, which should be different categories. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Let me finish. I don't want to lose my 3 minutes. I'll take it after I'm done. The last item, Ed's so right. The only way you're going to get the budget lined up is to control costs. Raising the tax every year is only going to drive people out of here. I can tell you this much. In my career, 3 layoffs, 3 strikes, I was directly involved and affected by 2 of them. I know what it's like to be laid off. I know what it's like to be involved with strikes. Nobody wants to have that. I worked in the budget department when we're almost bankrupt. Water and lighting company in the 80s. Let me tell you something. They cut the budget because that's talking about people. Unfortunately, that's what happens. Nobody wants to do it, but if you don't do it, you're irresponsible. Because you're going to wind up not having money, you're going to be bankrupt, and then it'll be worse off than taking, the pain that we have to go through when you have to do something like that. You're so right. On every item, bonds, everything.
Thank you.
Now, take your answer.
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure offhand what records the city maintains with respect to what fines are collected, with what offenses. In my capacity as, assistant corporation counsel, I've never really had to review that. I'm sure something exists, I'm just not sure exactly what it is.
I accept
So
that,
somebody
but
can try.
I find it hard to believe
I'm sure.
that we do not have a clear accounting mechanism to keep track of where every penny goes. It's overtime or bonuses or whatever you do.
Thank
You should know.
Commissioner Miranda, is it possible to get someone to look at Arizona Street in the next couple of days while it's raining heavy and see if it was properly graded and to see if there's any new flooding that's occurring on that street?
Absolutely, but the problem with Arizona is there's no soft curbs, or, no soft gutters on that. So that's why it doesn't drain. It was a problem before, so it's just an overlay. We'll have to.
There's no sewers and no soft curb?
There's no soft curb and there's no drainage there.
I mean, when I say sewers, I mean storm drainage.
Okay, there were also several concerns on Pennsylvania as well, so can you speak to
Pennsylvania, I think was a problem with clogged drains. We did send a crew down there to pump them out, so.
Yes, I know, but they're saying that they're still being flooded.
Well, one of the issues we're having right now is, last year we had 65 inches of rain. This year we've already had close to 30 inches of rain. It's gonna rain every day like this week. Our groundwater levels are so high. We also have catch basins that were designed to drain, so they wouldn't attract mosquitoes. But the groundwater level's so high now that the drains aren't taking everything that they should take. So, it's gonna be an issue until the rain slows down.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Moyalasko.
Leslie Long, get your place down in Germany. As far as the bids go, you listed all sorts of things we're doing, but we're still not having success. It's like when I tell my wife, she sends me out for bread, and I said, I went to every Home Depot and I couldn't find a loaf, because I love Home Depot. Come on, if it's not working, let's find another way to do it. It's not working. That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I would understand for that. Okay, anyway. Anthony, I've been up here 7 months now asking about the AEP. Well, I understood you were trying to get some parts or something. The fire department has an AEP and they don't have the parts and, we needed new parts and stuff like that. We got a bunch of people together, put in the money, bought the parts. So now, hopefully we'll have an AEP.
I don't know.
What do you mean you have to look into?
We can't just accept.
No, you can do a resolution right now. You could reopen it for this, and you know that. This is saving lives, Anthony. Stop it.
Why?
Because you're making it difficult. I've been asking for 7 months.
Commissioner
From
Kennedy,
the AED.
can you speak to the parts that are on order for the AED?
I cannot do one hour.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So can someone tell us where they were ordered? Do we have any information here?
What is
No,
law?
I'm not talking to you, I'm asking which department ordered the parts.
I don't want this out of my time, because I want.
Okay, please
I'll make sure that you have time.
Thank you.
Please continue with your time. No one here can answer that question.
Okay. Last thing, the email to Eddie Corona. I can understand the frustration when Eddie doesn't get an answer, and I can understand the frustration from the SAGSDC, having somebody asking day after day for the same thing. But the truth is that he asked for it for months. But the response, in the future, please understand that calling and writing me every day will not only fail to expedite the response process, but will ensure that no response is provided at all. Are you guys kidding? Are you kidding? Somebody asks a question repeatedly because he doesn't get an answer, and then he's told no response will be provided at all? Don't you find something wrong with that? No response will be provided because you kept asking.
Doesn't make me happy.
Thank you.
I don't know who can accept those.
This is.
Can you hold on to them and then we'll
What?
can you hold on to them and then we'll have Rob contact you?
It's not out of it.
I'm not doing that.
Miss Nancy Golden?
Golden, East Pine Street.
Good evening.
I have a question. It's been raining out, a lot of rain. I got soap coming in here. Why are the sprinklers on outside? Do you have 3 built that you can just keep running water? Are the Kennedy parks also running? Is Clark Street Park still running? Is Beach Street Park running? Do you know?
I can speak, the one at West End it has a button, so if someone hits the button, then the water comes on, yes.
Well,
And it's on
that's
time.
one part. What about out here?
I don't know about the sprinklers here, I'm just talking about the fun park. Mr. Commissioner Miranda, do you know if there's a problem with our
I know, I'm just sending a note.
sensor? Could be a problem with
Note
the
to
sensor?
Mr. O'Brien right now.
They should get a shut-off valve or,
Wait, oh, wait, you're talking about the fountain or like sprinklers?
well, the thing,
Oh.
fountain outside.
Oh, the fountain, that's not sprinklers, the fountain is just recycled water over and over and over again.
But isn't it still costing us money to run it? I'm sure it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Doc Richards.
Scott Richardson, Long Beach. Here again, it's the beginning of summer. I'm in the West End, which is densely populated. You know, well, some of you live there. The drunks, the noise, the music is out of control. And we need more police down there. A couple years ago, they did send down the police on the bicycles. They patrolled around. That was okay. But in the middle of the night, something has to be done. Even on Sunday afternoon, I can't sit on my deck and enjoy the afternoon because of the music blasting through open windows. Why is that allowed? I'm here year after year after year. It's out of control. It's like a Wild West rodeo down there. And I really think with all the raised houses now, taxes are doubled, more money's coming in, we should have more police presence to keep it under control. You know, they're all peeing all over, places don't have bathrooms, so they have to come outside. I've been here since '73, it's getting worse. Nothing is changing for the better. With all the new people, all the new raised houses, it's terrible. And I want something done. I want to enjoy my house for what I pay for. I don't want to be at the party every weekend because they can leave their windows open and blast the music. In the afternoon, it's not fair. It's not right. I don't know what the code is. Is there a code that they have to keep the windows closed in the
There's
afternoon?
a code that I'll ask, when your time is up, I'll ask the commissioner to come up, but there's a code based on the volume of their music.
Yeah, I hear it. I stay in and, well, I sit out. I have to either listen to their music or go inside and close my windows. It's not right. They can close their windows and blast their music. They're boom, 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 which you hear all night long. Really, it's not fair. It's not right. I want something done.
I'll ask, Commissioner, can you come up and just speak to, summer patrols and volume and, what recourse the residents do have? I know the West End neighbors that I see. Mr. Healy, yes, sorry, here, and I know you know Mr. Healy well, and he's been doing a great job with the bars, and they have some outside security now, keeping folks off the sidewalks. But I'll just ask the commissioner to speak to legal avenues.
Okay.
Yes, we put out on the weekends a bicycle patrol with the sergeant and 2 cops. Last Saturday night, they wrote approximately 40 summonses. If all the fines were paid at the rate they would on the ticket, it would bring in about $8,000, so it's self-sustained if they held to that effect. We put out, we're gonna have another team out this weekend. We've been very fortunate that whenever something happens, we are right there. We were at the corner of New Hampshire when there was an incident happening. We were at the corner of Wisconsin when an incident happens. In that particular incident, 4 family members got arrested because one was being a jerk when he got arrested. 3 other family members joined in to prevent the arrest. So while that created a lot of attention, in addition, the Nassau County Aviation Unit was up in the air at the time, they came by just to take a look. So people thought it was a much bigger event because they brought in a helicopter. We didn't call for a helicopter, we didn't ask for a helicopter. That just was a coincidence, which led to a lot of gravity to the situation in people's minds. Also, on social media, they talked that there was a stabbing, there was no stabbing. So, there's a lot of misinformation, but there is a lot of noise. We are being very aggressive with it. On Wisconsin Street, south of Beach Street, the bar there hired a bouncer. Actually, they built a booth, they put it right on the street, and they don't let anyone walk down the block. Spring Valley's doing the same on the other side, Minnesota's doing it on New Hampshire. We did have a meeting with the bar owners where we gave a clear expectation Mr. Healy could attend that meeting to give him a perspective from the western neighbors, and we will stay addressing it. It takes a while before we get uniform compliance by the visitors, because in the instance where the 4 family members got arrested, they were all from Massapequa. Last weekend, the majority of people were from off the island. So with new people constantly coming in, I had between 10 at night and 4 in the morning, approximately 14 cops working. So, and not the west end throughout the town, but the majority of the west end.
And Mrs. Rich's question about noise coming from homes, the recourses to call.
Yes, there is. There are 2 sections. One is a section that has actual reading. We don't enforce that section because it's extensive training to get certified in that. Only Princeton University does it, so I have to send notices to New Jersey for a couple of days to get that training, and they give it very, very rarely. The second one is noise unreasonable, it's a judgment call by the police officers. So those are the ones that's the one we do enforce.
And what number should they call?
Yes, I mean,
What phone number should folks call for that? Not, is that 911 or 911?
no, 911.
Okay.
Yes. And if you don't see the police respond in a timely manner, go back. Ask to speak to the desk officer.
Now, these fines that were given out last week, were they?
Wait, and there's a big misconception. Police do not get fines. Police just get summonses. Of course, they don't get fines.
Were they for disorderly conduct,
No,
noise?
disorderly conduct.
Urination?
I think about 25 of public urination. 3 or 4 were signs, were noise, and there was assorted other violations.
Did any of the bars, some?
No, there really isn't a summons clause. What we do is you complete what's called a state liquor authority report, and there was one sent in on the rest of it prior weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you. Just
something gets done.
stay vigilant. Ms. Teschen.
Eileen National Long Beach. I have to go back to the fire command contract that you just agreed to. The fire command company recently gave political donations to Mr. Aramo and Ms. Diamond. Shouldn't you have recused yourself from that vote? Mr. Aramo or Diamond?
Political donations aren't gifts. It doesn't require recusal, specifically in a situation like this where a committee reviews all the submissions and there's really one very clear selection by a committee that's not Ms. Diamond, Mr. Rama. So there's no conflict of interest there.
I don't know, I was looking at
We did
the,
seek an opinion when we saw the item come up on our agenda.
the code of ethics. I don't know, I don't understand, Mr. Kalinsky, what you said, because the standards of conduct sounds very specific to something like this. No officer, employee of the city, whether paid or unpaid, shall accept or solicit any valuable gift, whether in the form of services, loan, thing, or promise, or any other form from any person, firm, or corporation, which to his knowledge is interested directly or indirectly in any manner whatsoever in business or professional dealings with the city.
There is case law which specifically says that campaign contributions are not considered gifts.
But isn't that from persons, not from corporations?
I mean, the state of federal law specifically with the Supreme Court now, with what corporations can do with campaign contributions. This goes into the heart of the First Amendment.
Isn't this what just happened in Nassau County with Mangano, that he was accepting?
No, first off, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, he was accepting money and favors and dinners and things from
Yeah,
someone
that's not
in
it.
return for, this is like pay to play, no?
No, this is not pay to play. Otherwise, you're saying that nobody could ever get campaign contributions. You know, it really puts incumbent elected officials at a great disadvantage of the election. There's a whole body of case law on this. I encourage you to read it. It's very interesting. I did so in preparation for tonight, but that's just the state of the law
You did so in preparation because of this exact thing?
in case it came up, yeah.
Oh, well, it came up.
We
Wait a second, President Robert just let me ask for an opinion when we saw it. I don't know.
Oh, because of the contribution, you mean?
I was concerned about it.
Well, I'm concerned about it still. I mean, it's just very close that they, you know, as Mr. Dando said, it's nice to have a local company doing business here. But if they have to pay in order to get the business, I mean, you had another company
That's not
last
what
year.
That's not what happened. Thank you.
Mr. Healy, the RFP process demonstrates that they're not paying to play. There is a process through procurement where a committee reviewed all the proposals and made a recommendation that had nothing to do with campaign contributions, nor did I believe that anybody on the committee even know about campaign contributions. In any event, everybody voted unanimously to do it.
You knew about it because you looked it up in preparation for the meeting, so you knew about it. I don't know.
I'm not-
Brendan Healy, Long Beach. I'll be following up on the quality of life issue. I have a petition here signed by 250 residents, and I'll be able to call it out. So there's been a lot of talk about quality of life issues, obviously outlined just recently by the commissioner, by Dot. What I'd like to do is kind of take a little bit of a different route. First and foremost, regarding the article in the Herald and the commissioner's comments, anybody that comes to this town and is going to engage in a fight with a resident or a police officer, I couldn't find the word to describe it. I'll use disgusting because it's the only word I can come up with at the moment. It's not, profanity, but that's wrong. And we don't want people coming to our town, our city, fighting with our police. They do a great job. I know they get a lot of flack, but I encourage the residents of the West End, if you see a police officer on your block on the weekends, go out and say thank you. The quality of life patrols are out there on bikes. I've thanked them on numerous occasions. And they're out there and they're doing a good job. We are sending a letter from the West End neighbors to our elected judges, asking them to enforce the maximum penalties on fines. We've heard the code enforcement officials get up here a few meetings ago, say that they're tired of writing fines and code violations, and I'm sure the police are as well, where it's a minor slap on the wrist. You get a summons for public urination or illegal use of sewer, what I think it is, which is quite funny. And it winds up being a $10 ticket, right? So what does that tell you? So we are going to ask that our judges enforce the maximum penalties, and anybody that fights with a police officer does not belong in the city of Long Beach and is unwelcome in our city. So moving from that, we are also calling for a couple of additional items from our petition. The first is the protection of our police, obviously. The second is an increase in resources and increase in show and force. I know the commission's been focused on that, doing a good job. I've been calling for the past year for the reestablishment of the Public Safety Commission, specifically that's in the code. Strong enforcement of ordinances, and also this came up as a suggestion from a resident, increased sanitation in the West End about like maybe 6 or 7 a.m. I don't know the logistics of that, but whatever can be done to encourage picking up of litter or trash, I'm sure that can get into the storm drains as well. But you can see it all over the place. It's a real mess. With my remaining time, I'd like to read some comments that are from residents across the West End. This is from the petition. Every time I leave my house at night to walk to the store, I feel threatened. I was woken up by a drunken loud screaming at 2 a.m. and screaming at 4 a.m. I could not get rest and I could not get to work on Saturday morning. It has gotten out of hand, and we need more consistency in police and cooperation from bar owners, enough. And that's my time, so that's all we have.
Okay. Thank you, Keely, thank you for your work with the rest of the neighbors. Okay, with that, that's our meeting for this evening. Hope everyone gets home safe. Have a good night.